She moved to a quiet town, seeking peace. But what she found changed everything. Watch till the end, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The morning air was crisp, tinged with the scent of pine and the distant hum of sprinklers watering tidy suburban lawns. The small town of Fairhaven lay bathed in the soft light of early autumn, its streets lined with golden trees and sleepy smiles. A town where nothing much ever happened. And that was precisely what Ronda Rousey wanted. After years of chaos, cameras, arenas, flashing lights, and screaming crowds, Ronda had vanished from the public eye. No press release, no staged farewell, just silence. She quietly sold her Los Angeles home and drove north, looking for a place where people didn't point at her in grocery stores or whisper behind menus at restaurants. She found it here, a quiet pocket of California that looked like it hadn't changed in 30 years. Her new house was modest but peaceful, tucked on a slope at the end of a sleepy cul-de-sac. No paparazzi, no schedules, no obligations. The only sound at night was the wind weaving through the trees. It was supposed to be a break, not a retirement, but Fairhaven offered her something she hadn't had in years: space to breathe. Even so, the fighter inside her refused to completely shut down. After a week of stacking boxes and answering curious but friendly knocks from neighbors who thought she looked kind of familiar, Ronda found a local gym. It wasn't much, peeling paint on the front windows, a few punching bags, a faded sign reading Fairhaven Combat and Fitness, but it had a mat, a ring, and enough rust to feel real. She didn't use her full name when she signed up, just Ronda. The manager, a gruff but kind man in his 60s named Vic, didn't ask many questions. He simply nodded and handed her a clipboard. Her first few days at the gym were blissfully uneventful. She trained in the mornings, worked the bags, and shadowboxed in the back corner. Most members were teenagers or blue-collar locals, curious but respectful. Some looked at her twice, a flicker of recognition in their eyes, but no one said anything. Until Thursday. She was walking down Maple Street toward the gym, earbuds in, hoodie up, when she noticed a girl sitting alone at a bus stop. About 13, small frame, tight curly hair tied into a bun, and a backpack that looked too heavy for her shoulders. The girl kept glancing toward Ronda, eyes wide. Ronda offered a small smile and kept walking, but then, "Excuse me?" the girl called out. Ronda stopped. She pulled out one earbud. "Yeah? You're Ronda Rousey, right?" The girl clutched a folded magazine page, one of those old Sports Illustrated spreads, from her UFC prime. Ronda hesitated, looked around, then walked over. "I used to be," she said with a smile. "Now I'm just Ronda." The girl's face lit up. "Oh my God, I'm your biggest fan. I've watched all your fights, even the ones in Japan. I used to pretend I was you when I played with my cousins. They called me Rowdy Lily." Rowdy laughed. "Rowdy Lily, huh? That's a good name." "I can't believe it. I thought you disappeared." "I did," Ronda admitted. "But not forever, just taking a break." The girl extended the magazine page and a pen from her backpack. Her hands trembled. Ronda took it, signed her name in bold strokes, and added a small note. "Stay strong. Always." "Thank you," Lily whispered. "No one ever believes me when I say girls can fight. They think it's dumb." "It's not dumb," Ronda said firmly. "It's brave." Before Ronda could say more, the girl's bus arrived. Lily clutched the page like treasure and stepped inside, turning once more to wave as the doors closed. Ronda stood there for a moment after the bus pulled away. There was something about that kid, something in her eyes. Hunger, fire, a spark she remembered seeing in the mirror as a child. At the gym that day, Ronda hit harder, trained longer. Her mind kept drifting back to the moment, the way Lily had spoken about fighting, about strength, about not being believed. It reminded her why she'd started all those years ago. After her session, Vic came over with a towel, a bottle of water. "You've been pushing hard," he said. "Everything all right?" "Yeah," Ronda nodded. "Just remembering who I am." Vic squinted at her, thoughtful. "You know, you've got that look." "What look?" The look of someone who thought she left something behind, only to realize it followed her anyway. Ronda chuckled and wiped sweat from her brow. "Maybe." She walked home slowly, hands in her pockets. Fairhaven might be small, but it was beginning to stir something in her. She liked the quiet, but maybe, just maybe, she wasn't done fighting yet. That night, as the sun dipped below the hills and the lights in her street blinked on one by one, Ronda sat by her window and stared out into the darkness. Somewhere in this sleepy town was a girl, with a dream and a broken belief that girls couldn't fight. And maybe Ronda was here for a reason after all. The next morning dawned gray and damp, clouds stretching across the sky like bruises. Ronda didn't mind the gloom. It made the world feel quieter, like everything was holding its breath. She headed out early, hoodie pulled over her head, walking the now familiar path toward the gym. Her body ached pleasantly from yesterday's drills. It felt good to hurt again in the way that reminded her she was alive. She was halfway down Sycamore Street when something caught her ear. A voice. Angry, sharp, too loud for this sleepy neighborhood. Ronda slowed down, eyes scanning. It was coming from the side alley behind a laundromat, a space mostly used by kids to cut through to the next block. Her instincts flared before her brain caught up. A man's voice, aggressive. The girl's voice, scared. Ronda didn't hesitate. She turned down the alley. That's when she saw her. Well, she was pinned against a graffiti-tagged wall by a white police officer in his 40s. Stocky build, military haircut, mirrored sunglasses pushed up onto his head. His uniform was wrinkled, his badge slightly crooked. But it wasn't his appearance that stopped Ronda cold. It was the expression on his face. Disgust. Contempt. Lily's backpack was on the ground, its contents spilled across the wet concrete. Notebooks, a pencil case, that folded magazine page with Ronda's autograph. "What are you doing walking here alone?" The officer growled, his hand wrapped tight around her thin wrist. "Skipping school, you little hood rat?" "I wasn't doing anything," Lily cried, tears brimming in her eyes. "I was just going to the library." "Oh, so now you talk back?" he sneered. "Don't get smart with me." "I didn't." He jerked her arm sharply. There was a crack. Lily let out a blood-curdling scream. "Hey!" Ronda's voice boomed down the alley like a gunshot. The officer froze, then turned slowly. His hand still held Lily's, which now hung limp and trembling. "Let her go," Ronda said, walking forward. And he looked at her like she was an annoying dog. "Ma'am, step back. This is police business." "She's a child." She was being evasive and resisting questioning. "She's a 13-year-old girl," Ronda snapped, her voice steady but low. "You just broke her arm." "That's a hell of an accusation." "Let her go." And he didn't move. If anything, he tightened his grip. Lily sobbed, cradling her arm with her free hand. Ronda stepped in fast and shoved his chest with both hands. He stumbled back, caught off guard, and finally released the girl. Lily dropped to the ground with a moan of pain. "You just assaulted a police officer," he growled, straightening his belt. Ronda didn't blink. "You assaulted a child." He took a step forward. "Give me your name." "No, I arrest you right now." "You loved it." Their eyes locked. For a moment, the world shrank to just the two of them. Ronda heard Lily whimper behind her, curling up on the ground. The girl's backpack lay beside her like a broken shell. The cop moved suddenly, reaching for his belt. Not a weapon, just his radio. Well, he didn't get that far. Ronda stepped in and grabbed his wrist mid-motion. With one fluid twist, she yanked his arm down and shoved his chest again, forcing him off balance. "Last warning," she said through clenched teeth. "Walk away." "You've got no idea who you're messing with," he hissed. "You think your little attitude means anything? You're just some has-been." The last word hadn't even left his mouth before he lunged. He was slow, predictable, overconfident. She slipped sideways, caught his arm, redirected his momentum, and pivoted. One clean hook to the jaw. His sunglasses flew off, his head snapped back, and he crumpled. Not a dramatic fall, just straight down, his knees buckled like wet paper. Silence filled the alley. Ronda breathed hard, fists trembling. She turned immediately to Lily and knelt. "It's okay, I've got you." The girl's face was pale, tears streaking her cheeks, her hand clutched to her chest. "He called me a thief," Lily choked out. "Said I looked like trouble." I wasn't doing anything." "I know," Ronda said softly. "It's not your fault." Voices rose at the edge of the alley. Bystanders, finally drawn by the noise, peered in. A few had phones out. One woman gasped. A young man muttered, "Is that?" Ronda ignored them. She cradled Lily gently, lifting her with care. The girl winced, but didn't resist. "We need to get you to a hospital," Ronda said. "What about him?" Lily whispered, glancing at the motionless officer. Ronda looked down at him. He was groaning now, starting to stir, but not getting up anytime soon. "You'll be fine," Ronda said quietly. "Let's go." She carried Lily down the alley, past the whispering crowd, past the cell phones, past the questions. She didn't answer a single one. At the end of the block, a woman with wide eyes offered her car keys. Ronda didn't ask questions. She slid into the driver's seat, gently laid Lily in the back, and peeled off toward the hospital. Her heart pounded the whole way, not from fear but from fury. It wasn't just what had happened, it was that no one else had done anything. They'd seen it, heard it, and stayed back like it wasn't their place. Like it wasn't real. Ronda gripped the wheel tighter. Fairhaven was quiet, yes, but quiet didn't mean good. Quiet could hide rot. Quiet could mask cowards. She looked in the rearview mirror. Lily lay back, eyes fluttering from pain and adrenaline. "You're safe now," Ronda whispered. But deep down she knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The emergency room buzzed with the low, constant hum of fluorescent lights and the rhythmic squeak of nurses' shoes on tile. Ronda sat beside Lily, her hoodie down now, face exposed, gaze hard. Lily's arm was secured in a temporary cast cradled against her chest in a blue sling. Her eyes were red, swollen from crying, but her breathing had finally slowed. She leaned against Ronda like a wounded bird seeking warmth. A nurse stepped into the room with a clipboard and a sympathetic look. "We've stabilized the fracture," she said softly. "It's a clean break. She'll heal fine, but she'll need follow-up care with an orthopedic specialist." "Thank you," Ronda said, standing. "I'll make sure she gets what she needs." "She's lucky you were there," the nurse added. Then, after a pause, "I recognize you. Are you?" Ronda gave a small nod. "I won't tell," the nurse smiled, "but thank you for whatever happened out there." The moment she left, Lily turned to Ronda with a shaky voice. "Am I in trouble?" Ronda blinked. "What?" "With the police. Is he gonna come get me?" "No, he didn't do anything wrong. But he said I looked suspicious. He said I didn't belong there." Ronda kneeled beside her, placing a steady hand on Lily's knee. "You belong everywhere, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Lily nodded, though she didn't quite believe it yet. Outside the hospital, things were changing fast. The video had already begun to spread. One of the bystanders, a high school student who recognized Ronda the moment she stepped into the alley, had caught the entire confrontation on their phone. The shaky footage showed the officer shouting, grabbing the girl, the sickening sound of her scream, and then the strike. Ronda's punch, the fall. It was uploaded within an hour. By the time Ronda had checked Lily out and gotten her into a quiet motel near her own house, the clip had over 400,000 views. By midnight, it was over 1 million. Some praised her, some questioned her, but no one could ignore it. The next morning, there was a knock at her door. 2 police cruisers were parked outside. Ronda opened the door calmly. She wore a plain black tank top and jeans. No makeup, her hair tied back. An officer stepped forward. Not the one from the alley, but a different man in his 50s with a square jaw and weary eyes. "Ms. Rousey?" "Yes." "I'm Captain Reyes. May we come in?" "No," she said, "but I'll talk." He hesitated, then nodded to his partner, a female officer who stood silently behind him. "We're investigating an altercation involving Officer Darren Wilkes. Your name came up." "I'm sure it did," Ronda replied. "I stopped him from assaulting a minor. I'd do it again." "There's a video," Reyes said carefully, "and statements. Several of them confirm your account." "Then why are you here?" "This protocol. We need to take a statement from you officially." Ronda stepped outside, closed the door behind her, and crossed her arms. "Go ahead." For the next 20 minutes, she recounted everything. She left nothing out. The girl, the grabbing, the break, the threats. Her response. No drama, no embellishment, just facts. Reyes listened, occasionally writing in a small notepad. When she finished, he closed it. "I'm not here to charge you," he said finally. "In fact, I'm here to thank you." Ronda raised an eyebrow. "You're not the first person to report Officer Wilkes, but you are the first one he messed with who could fight back and whose name was big enough that people actually started listening." Ronda didn't answer right away. "I didn't do it for that," she said eventually. "I know," Reyes said, "but maybe that's why it matters." He handed her a card. "If anything comes up, call me. And for what it's worth, the department's under pressure now." The mayor saw the video. Internal Affairs opened a formal inquiry this morning. After they left, Ronda stood on her porch for a long time. She didn't want the spotlight. She didn't want the headlines, but the truth had a way of pulling people back in. Later that day, she returned to the gym. It was the first time since the incident. As soon as she walked through the door, the room went quiet. Teenagers stared. One trainer stopped mid-pad session. Vic, behind the counter, looked up with a smirk. "Well," he said, "looks like the town finally knows who you are." Ronda approached the front desk, her expression unreadable. "I didn't come to be known," she said. Vic shrugged. "Too late for that." She trained hard that day, harder than usual. Every strike on the bag echoed like thunder. She needed to hit, needed to sweat, needed to feel again. By evening, she was walking home when a woman flagged her down, a teacher from the local middle school. She introduced herself, thanked Rhonda, and asked if she might consider visiting the school sometime. Some of the girls, she said, they saw the video, they're inspired. Rhonda didn't answer right away. Then she smiled gently. "I'll think about it." But inside, something was shifting. She didn't come here to lead, but maybe life had other plans. That night, she checked on Lily again. The girl was asleep on the couch, her arm in a proper cast now, a cartoon playing softly on the TV. The magazine page lay beside her, still slightly wrinkled, but now proudly displayed in a plastic sleeve. Rhonda sat across from her and watched the gentle rise and fall of her breathing. One kid, one alley, one punch, and the world had changed. By morning, Fairhaven was no longer just a quiet town tucked away in rural California. It had become a headline. Ex-UFC star knocks out cop during child assault. Ronda Rousey steps in where others stayed silent. Hero or vigilante, the internet reacts. News vans appeared outside the hospital, the school, and much to Rhonda's irritation, her house. Drone footage of her street hit national broadcasts. Commentators debated her tactics while survivors of police misconduct hailed her as a hero. Hashtags trended globally. Former fighters, activists, and celebrities tweeted support, but not everyone approved. On the second day after the incident, a televised statement was made by Officer Darren Wilkes' attorney. He was responding to suspicious behavior. Ms. Rousey used excessive force. She is not above the law. Rhonda turned off the TV. She wasn't interested in posturing. But what mattered wasn't the noise, it was the system starting to move. An official inquiry was launched by Internal Affairs. Officer Wilkes was placed on unpaid leave, pending investigation. Several complaints resurfaced, buried ones, forgotten ones. Citizens who'd stayed silent for years now stepped forward with stories, intimidation, profiling, verbal abuse. And among them, a disturbing pattern emerged. Most were young black or brown residents. Lily's story, captured on film, broke the dam. Rhonda stayed quiet through most of it. She declined interviews, avoided press, kept to her schedule, but in the background, she made calls. She paid for Lily's follow-up medical visits in full, anonymously. She donated to the local legal aid office supporting Wilkes' other victims, under an alias. And when Fairhaven Middle School invited her to speak at an assembly, she didn't answer for 2 days. But then she said yes. The gym, meanwhile, had become a shrine. Teenagers pinned printouts of news clippings to the bulletin board. Someone taped up a screenshot of the knockout with the words, "Protect, not pose." Vic didn't say much about it, but Rhonda noticed how he started locking the front door during her training hours. One evening, as she walked toward her usual punching bag, she found a note pinned to it. It read, "My daughter was one of his victims, thank you." No name, just that. Rhonda stared at the note for a long time before folding it and slipping it into her gym bag. When she finally returned to Lily's motel room a few nights later, the girl was curled up in bed, watching old MMA clips on her phone. Rhonda knocked gently before stepping in. "You okay?" she asked. Lily nodded. Her arm was still in the cast, but her face was brighter, more alert. There was steel in her eyes. "They're talking about you at school," Lily said. "Some teachers even played the video." "That might be a little intense," Rhonda replied. "They said you were brave." "I'm not sure bravery had anything to do with it." With that, Rhonda sat on the edge of the bed. "I just saw someone who needed help. That's all." Lily looked down, then back up. "He used to patrol my block," she whispered. "He always said nasty things. One time he said if I kept acting ghetto, I'd end up in jail like my cousin." Rhonda's jaw tightened. "You don't have to be scared of him anymore." Lily swallowed hard. "What if another one comes? What if I can't fight back like you?" Rhonda was silent for a beat. "Then you don't have to fight alone." The next day was the school assembly. Rhonda stood backstage, shifting her weight between her feet, listening to the principal introduce her to a packed gymnasium. Hundreds of kids, all grades, crammed into the bleachers. Teachers lined the walls. Phones were everywhere. Whispers filled the air. Then her name was called. She stepped out, wearing jeans and a plain white t-shirt. The crowd fell silent. She stood at the microphone, looked at their young, curious faces, looked at Lily in the front row, cast still bright blue, eyes wide with something close to pride. Rhonda took a breath. "I'm not a hero," she began. "I didn't come to this town to make a statement. I came to rest, to disappear." Murmurs rippled. But something happened, something I couldn't walk away from, and it reminded me why I ever stepped into a ring in the first place. She paused. "I was once told I couldn't fight, that I wasn't strong enough, that girls don't belong in cages, that we're supposed to smile, not swing." A few students chuckled. "I fought because no one else would stand up for me, and now I fight when others can't stand up for themselves." She scanned the crowd again. "You may not be able to throw punches, but your voice matters, your presence matters. And if someone tells you that you don't belong, remember that they're afraid of your power. That's why they try to silence you." Silence, and then a single clap, then two, then a wave of applause that built into thunder. Afterward, dozens of students approached her, some with phones, others with tears, a few with quiet thanks. Teachers shook her hand. One counselor asked if she'd consider starting a self-defense class at the school. She didn't say no. That night, she walked home under the glow of streetlights, alone but not lonely. Fayhaven didn't feel like a hiding place anymore. It felt like something else, in a place where change had started. And maybe, just maybe, where it would continue. It had been 3 weeks since the punch heard around the world. Fairhaven was no longer the town that turned away. Something inside its streets had shifted, not loudly, not overnight, but persistently. Like a river slowly carving a canyon, you could feel it in the way people looked at each other, in the way some heads lifted instead of dropping, in the way silence had become just a little less comfortable. And in the middle of it all stood Rhonda. Not a hero, not a celebrity, just a woman who had seen injustice and refused to look away. But that refusal had grown into something bigger than she anticipated. It started with a call from the local school board, then another from the community center. Soon, people were asking if she could teach, mentor, speak. At first, she declined, but the voices kept coming, not pushy, just hopeful. It wasn't about her anymore. It was about what she had started. She eventually said yes to a meeting at the old community gym on Harrison Avenue. The place was barely standing. One ring, 2 mats, cracked walls, and water damage on the ceiling. But the space had potential, and more importantly, it had people. Parents, teachers, volunteers, teens, girls like Lily. A few weeks later, the doors opened under a new sign. Rowdy's Corner, self-defense and strength for all. Classes were free. No belts, no competitions, just lessons, how to fall, how to stand, how to use your voice, how to never shrink. On the first day, Lily walked through the doors in a new hoodie, her cast freshly removed. She looked around nervously, then spotted Rhonda at the far end of the mat. Their eyes met. Rhonda gave her a nod. Lily returned it and stepped barefoot onto the mat. They started slowly, footwork, balance, breathing. But the transformation was immediate. Lily, once curled inward like a leaf bracing for the wind, began to stand straighter. Punch by punch, word by word, she began to believe in herself again. Others followed, girls who'd been mocked, boys who'd been bullied, kids who felt too weak, too small, too invisible. Rhonda welcomed them all. Fairhaven started to notice. A local reporter wrote a piece, "The Fighter Who Stayed." It talked less about the punch, more about the ripple it caused. The students speaking up, the city council's sudden interest in oversight, the quiet buzz of pride in neighborhoods that had long felt voiceless. One afternoon, Rhonda was finishing a class when a familiar woman approached her. Petite, sharp eyes, straightened hair pulled back in a bun. It was Lily's mother. "I owe you," she said, voice tight. "You owe me nothing," Rhonda replied. "My daughter, she used to flinch when a car slowed down next to her. She doesn't do that anymore. She told me she wants to help others now. Said maybe she'll teach someday." Rhonda smiled. "She will." The woman nodded slowly, then surprised them both by stepping forward and embracing her. For the first time in a long time, Ronda let herself lean into it. That night, as she sat alone outside her house, the sky painted in deep indigo, she thought about everything. The alley, the silence, the scream, the fist, the aftermath. All of it had led here, not to fame, not to glory, but to something that finally felt like peace. She still trained, still ran, still kept her guard sharp, but it wasn't about combat anymore. It was about defense of self, of others, of the vulnerable. One evening, as she locked up the gym, Lily approached her with a small folded piece of paper. Ronda raised an eyebrow. "What's this?" "I wrote a poem," Lily said, a little shy. "I want to put it on the wall." Ronda unfolded the page and read silently. "We are not shadows. We are not soft echoes. We are the thunder behind silence. The strike behind stillness. The voice they tried to bury. Still rising, still here. It's still strong." Ronda folded the paper with care. "I think it belongs right at the front." So they pinned it on the main wall, next to the sign-up sheet and beneath a simple painted message: "You are not alone." Weeks passed. One Saturday, Ronda was cleaning mats when a new girl entered the gym, no older than 12, tightly braided hair, eyes wide behind glasses. She clutched a crumpled article printed off the internet. "Are you?" Ronda smiled. She already knew the question. "I am. I saw your video. My cousin sent it to me. I want to learn to fight." "You came to the right place," Ronda said, holding out her hand. "Welcome to Rowdy's Corner." As the door swung shut behind them, laughter echoed. One moment of courage sparked a movement that couldn't be stopped. If this story moved you, like, comment, and subscribe for more.